Woohoo! Wednesday Night Live. Here we are. I am your host, Alara of Sirius, and you're watching 1 Foot in 5D. Hello to the peeps in the chat. Tonight is a little different. We should be up. Well, actually, we won't be up until I hit this button right here. All right. I think so. Tonight is the first night on Rockfin, streaming to Rockfin. So, so can I get a 5x5 in the chat if we are up on D Live, YouTube, you guys? I think we're over on, I think, Foil, can you let me know? It looks like we're up over on Rockfin. Thank you so much, guys, for your help. It's good to see you. Hi, Miguel, California. How you doing? Happy Wednesday to you. Hi, Doctor, Detox with Tessa, Becky Lou, Path, UFO Mark, Cad Spotter, Sarah, Becky. It's good to see you guys. All right, let me pull up. Tonight is exciting, very exciting. I have a wonderful guest with me. Let me just pull up the Foxhole chat over here. What's up, Foxhole? Okay. Yes, I have a very exciting guest with me tonight. DWTruthWarrior. DWTruthWarrior, please say hello to the peeps.
What's up, everybody? Alara, so good to be here with you. Just having the offline chat has already been fun, and you have such a kick-ass background that I just can't wait to be on this show. So thanks for having me. Thanks.
It's wonderful to have you on. You're somebody when I first got on the Foxhole, I started watching you. I don't remember how, but I was like, wow, listen to this guy. He's amazing. And I told my other Canadian Patriot friend, I was like, you got to check out David. He's amazing. And so, so yeah, I'm super excited to have you on because, David's one of the few people that's, just ultra woke, even more so than you, Tyler. He's like, woke. He's like up there, you know what I mean? Like he's into all of it, just like me. So, I'm excited. I know I can pretty much talk to him about anything, and this is going to be great. I'm excited to have you on. So thanks for coming on. Yeah.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I just love talking about these subjects, and you got a hopping chat going on. This is great. Shout out to the Foxhole. I was just on the Foxhole. It's been a podcast day for me. So this will be pleasant conversation. We'll be able to get into all kinds of really cool and deep and interesting subjects, and yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, so let me quickly thank my super chats from last week so we can start on our conversation, sir. Let's see, Chris Hawkins, Mark 222, Phil Christophers, Ms. B, UFO Mark, Gert, Troy Cooks. I finally got it right, Troy. T-Roy. Can I call you T-Roy or Troy? Which do you prefer? Just let me know. It's so great to have you on the Foxhole, by the way. So for those who don't know, we now have T-Roy Cooks on the Foxhole. He's going to be our cooking show. I'm really excited about this. Very excited about this. So shout out to you, Troy. That's so great to have you on there. And thank you so much for your support. EO2 Dave, Fizamajig, Big Stud Tsunami. That's my new name for him. Mountain Lace, Blue Phoenix, Jaded Genie, Allison N, Detox with Tessa, Judy's Pissed, and Janet Odo. Thanks a lot for your support, guys. So yeah, let's get into it. What do you think?
Well, there's a lot of things to think these days, that's for sure.
Dude, what is happening?
What is this place? Like, I don't know about you, but I'm starting to feel a little bit more alien by the day. I don't know if I came from a different time or if I just don't belong here or something. Just things are getting really crazy, and I keep wondering if I'm in the right place or if I stepped into the wrong dimension or something, because it's just getting absolutely bonkers in this world. But maybe it has to. Maybe that's the key. Maybe it has
I
to
think
get this
so.
bad in order for us to wake up and realize that we can evolve to the next level. We can get off planet. We can help this planet. We can get enlightenment. We can learn the truth. We can figure out our origins, all the big questions of life. But we got a lot of obstacles in front of us, eh?
I actually went outside the other night, like we were talking about earlier before the show started. Everything went from really peaceful and all this world peace happening and all this just great, during Mr. T's administration. And we went from that within a few months to just complete and utter chaos. Just to the point where it's just insanity. And I caught myself the other night. I went outside. And, when things are this rough and you don't know how you're going to straighten it out, you do what you do every day, but you don't know how. I just went out there and I said, we need your help. We really need your help. But I know that I'm only one person calling, and that we need a lot more people to get it. I feel like we need assistance at this point. I feel like we're beyond, I don't know. And I don't mean that in a downer way. I just mean I wish more people were aware that there are beings, whatever you want to call them, angels, aliens, however you want to see them. There are beings there that will assist, but they have to be, we all have free will. You know what I mean? They don't, the good ones, the benevolent ones do not step in here unless they're asked to. So, and I don't even think enough people are aware that they're there yet for enough of a call to go out for perhaps it to be answered. I don't know. What's your perspective on that, David?
Well, I feel you. I mean, there's a few ways I look at it. I go, okay, well, we can call for divine assistance and maybe we have it. But all I can do is take control of my life, my mind, and do what I can, like what you're doing. You do this show. I do my show. I'm a father. I got 2 kids. I'm like, well, I'm going to instill the right values in them and keep their curiosity alive so that it doesn't get dulled out of them. So they start to ask the big questions of life. I look around and I see a lot of positive and negative, which tells me that, as much as we like to look and obsess of all the tyranny and evil in the world, I try to remind people, well, just remember that that's not the only force at work in the world. Mm-hmm. And maybe the unseen forces, God, angels, aliens, whatever it is, only comes to assist when we help ourselves. And maybe we're being given this gift, maybe the wake up or what do they call it? The ascension, all these different ways people talk about it. Maybe it wasn't what we imagined. We kind of imagined like a ponies and rainbows situation happening, but realistically we needed a shake up. We're getting what we need, not what we want. And what we need is to be confronted with the truth, because we've been ignoring the truth for so long. A lot of people, even though it's excruciating for people such as ourselves that may have woken up on this journey a lot longer ago, you got to remember everybody's at different stages, and there's a lot of infrastructure that's been built to colonize people's minds and steal their energy and get them focused on the wrong things. And so we can point all the fingers up the hill at the tyrants and the evil ones and the ones that are trying to drag humanity down and keep us complacent and docile, and they want to assimilate us into the Borg. Mm-hmm. Or we can think about, hey, well, I'm here, you're here, our listeners are here. That means we're not alone in this. But even if we were alone, even if you, Alara, or me were the last person standing that were wanting to seek the truth and go through this process and try to wake people up, even the last people, we did what we were supposed to do. And I believe deep down, I've just experienced it too many times. I believe in synchronicity. And I believe that if you're pursuing truth and knowledge in your life, and you're being honest in your life, and you're doing some good with the tools you've been given, the attributes you've been given, the gifts you've been given, if you do good with that, unseen forces come to your aid. And you're right. Maybe more people need to reach that place before we actually get any kind of intervention. But I guess maybe I'm a little cringed about thinking about intervention, because we've been waiting for intervention for thousands of years.
I don't think I'm thinking about intervention, though. I think I'm thinking more like we're fighting, or at least I am. You are. Yeah. Others are. The people in this chat are. We're fighting we could use help in this fight. I think that's more of where I'm coming from. But I see that we're getting some comments in the chat about, hey, Tyler said they're already helping, and I have to agree. They are already helping. And another person over on the Foxhole said, I didn't catch exactly who it was, but said something about, we have to fight. We have to fight. And I couldn't agree more.
I'm with you. And I guess that's what I'm saying is maybe this is the help. It's just not the help we thought. Right. Maybe the help is to have everything shown to us, everything that was shrouded in darkness, everything that we were ignorant of, that we weren't aware of. Even though it's dark and scary and ugly, it got to that point simply because we weren't aware of it. Yeah. And so it's like anything you hide in yourself, right? If you lie to yourself for a while or bury things deep, those past traumas or those things about yourself you don't like, or those things that you've been trying to hold off on, improving upon, if you repress them, they eventually come back in spades, and you can't ignore it, right? But when you address it and go, you know what, that is something about myself I want to work on. That is something I want to improve upon. And you know what, I can do it. You become heroic, and you say, I'm not going to be defeatist. I'm not going to be a victim. I'm going to be a victor of life, and I'm going to do something about this problem. Could be whatever. You want to change your diet or whatever, something simple. And then when you bring that from the unconscious to the conscious, now you can work with it. And now the solution presents itself that was probably always there the whole time. You just didn't know about it. And maybe humanity is getting that exact same thing happening on the bigger scale of things, where we needed to address our political system, our economic system, our corporate system, our social system, our histories, our religions, our philosophy. Everything has to be drug out to the surface so that we can address it. And only then can it be healed. So maybe the forces of help, if that's what we say it is actually guiding us to that place instead of doing it for us. Because if anybody, and I'm not saying that's what you say, but a lot of people think like this, right? They think, well, one day the Savior's going to come. One day the Pleiadian Council is going to land and do it all. And it's like, no, if anything, they would sit here and go, it's the prime directive. We don't interfere with evolving species, because that would stunt their growth. If they come in and do everything for us, we don't learn any lessons, then we keep resorting and defaulting back to the same problems. So we needed Sleepy Joe to get in there. Right. He's been red pilling the world more than anybody like you and I could be doing it. We needed a lockdown scenario where our governments started building a global techno-fascist state. We needed to see that happen and feel it and experience it so that we would never forget it. You know what I mean? And I guess that's what gives me hope. And I just watched a really amazing documentary last night. I won't say the name of it because I don't know if YouTube will kill us for it, but it's just, I can set it after. And it was just covering the worldwide protests that had happened in March that the media never reported on, but where literally millions of people around the world, we're talking from the deepest places in Africa to Switzerland and Germany and America and Canada,
they're fighting back.
They're fighting back, and what does that say? Yep. And they're fighting back peacefully, and they're fighting back with their energy. They're fighting back with their voice, and they're not fighting back with violence and guns and all that kind of stuff, which is what the enemy would love to happen, because that's what they live, is in that chaos. And I see that energy happening because people were put on the precipice. Because unfortunately, as human beings, that's what it takes. We have to have our back up against the wall before we finally snap out of it. So I guess in a way, as hard as it is to hear, and trust me, it's hard for me to hear too, is we're getting exactly what we need right now, maybe just not what we want.
Oh, I definitely agree with what we're looking at. We have no choice but to do whatever we can do as each individual to secure our freedom as human beings on this planet. We don't have any choice anymore. And I think maybe that was part of the plan. And I mean, when I say the plan, I mean, the divine plan, in some form or fashion. All right. So
absolutely.
What lit your great awakening fire, man? What lit you up, David? What got you all in on all this?
I wouldn't say it was one thing. I would say it was a series of events that happened in my life. Had a rough upbringing. Just, lots of stuff that as a youngster, it made me question everything right out of the gate. And I kind of was always the black sheep of the family, always had the big, the 20 questions, never took anything on face value. I was the one in Sunday school or with my parents or whatever, where I was the one, well, what about this? I don't know about that. And I don't know what it was, but I followed that. And then, grew up, I'd always been in the martial art world. So for me, that's what saved me. It saved me from a lot of, bad choices I could have made in life, kept me focused, taught me discipline, taught me self-esteem and self-respect, taught me how to have a spine, how to fight back, how to use strategy, and how to just be healthy in all spheres. And I used that as my fuel, and I thought that's where it would end. And then I stumbled across some books at the library talking about like history, philosophy, and it got me curious about, well, why are there different religions on the planet? Like, why
Right.
don't we all see the same? Like, isn't there just the truth? And then, why is there different? And then why are there different
Mm-hmm.
ways of the political structures? And why are there? And those questions was what started this inquiring that I was doing. And then 9/11 happened. Fast forwarding, and something about it right away just felt wrong and weird. And I guess, yeah, it's wrong and weird no matter how you look at it. And then my wife, at the time we were just dating, she was a political science and media studies major. And I was more into the philosophy, esoteric stuff, history, aliens, all that stuff. And she kind of brought that real rational side in and was like, well, you shouldn't just believe what the media is saying. You should look into the history of the media and who owns it, how it became, it was originally like 100 companies in America, and then it got brought into like 8 or 6 companies.
Right.
And all the information we get is centrally controlled. I was like, oh, interesting. And then I took that rabbit hole and I've never come out of it. It showed me, well, if we can't always trust what we're being told by the education system or the churches or the media, well, then what can we trust? And that came back to, well, I can only trust me. And so continuing on, so 9/11 was a big wake up call. I watched like Loose Change and Zeitgeist and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff back in the day. And I kept researching it, eventually went to a bunch of conferences, met a lot of like-minded people. Then there was an event that happened in Canada that it changed me completely, because I was ignorant thinking, well, I'm in Canada. It's
Right.
we're good here. All the other stuff is going to happen in America. It's going to happen in somewhere else in the world, never here. And then it was a G20 summit where it was under Barack Obama, one of his earlier terms. He came to Toronto, and there was a whole bunch of these G20 members coming in. And the Canadian government there spent $1.2 billion on setting up a big security apparatus with cameras and fencing. They enacted these weird waterworks laws that made it seem like all that land that they just built fences around belonged to them, not to the businesses that were there or the houses. And I was like, well, oh, this is crazy. And then I remember seeing people go protest the G20. They were protesting a lot of the stuff going on. And I'm thinking, well, it'll just be a protest. Maybe a few protesters will get rounded up. Well, it turned into one of the most egregious human rights violation events I've seen in this country, where, average people, even people that weren't at the protest, they were just out, at the pub or whatever, were getting arrested. There were snatch and grab vehicles coming with plainclothes people jumping out of vans, grabbing people, throwing them in the back of the vans. They built a whole prison complex downtown Toronto. They kept people there for like 36 hours. It was like a movie. And I just remember watching that going. I got emotional immediately when I saw the footage come out. And I was watching all the people down there with their phones filming stuff versus what the media in Canada was saying. And it just hit me. And I went, we've just lost our country. And the final scene of that event was men, women, and children, all ages, colors, backgrounds, singing the Canadian national anthem in front of the police line. As soon as the national anthem stopped, the police line charged them all and mowed them down, just ran right through them. Horses, everything. It was like, I thought I was watching something out of Venezuela or something like that. I couldn't believe it. And this was years ago. And so that's when so 9/11 was when I realized the world changed forever. Then that event was when I was like, Canada's gone. Then I researched the history of Canada and realized, oh my God, we've been infiltrated for a long time. And then on and on we go. And it's just been one thing after another that just kept pulling me to that realization that if you want the truth, you've got to go get it. You've got to dig for it. You've got to be eclectic in your search. And then it's just, once you open up the door, I'm sure you feel the same, Alara. Once you open up the door on any of these subjects that are sort of fringe, non-mainstreamy, normie subjects, you can't close it. Like it's just Pandora's box. Now you're like, well, if they lied about that, what else did they lie about? Did they lie to us about our origins as a species? Maybe they did. Maybe they lied about this. Maybe they lied about the moon. Maybe they lied about, are we alone in the universe, or whatever. And so for me, I guess this has just been a personal journey of inquiry about what the hell planet I'm living on and what's going on it. And it's just a roller coaster that I can never get off.
That kind of sums it up for me too. It's like, for me, it's an everyday journey of trying to understand what is happening here. Where am I at and what's happening here? And then I'm just doing it with all of you. And I love all of you, by the way, very much. But I'm doing it along with everybody else because and I think that, honestly, that's what's so beautiful about this movement, is that we're all learning together. You know, we all have a thirst and a hunger for knowledge and to understand, and you know, overall, I'd say the humility tends to be good, and people just want to learn. You know what I mean? So, and eventually we'll get there if we keep seeking that. So,
absolutely, I feel the same. I mean, I've always been more of a, like, I always naturally did this all on my own. Like I didn't ever do a show or anything. I didn't even think about turning it into a show. And then I did a video log where this is like my first video where I just had this big wake up moment, and I just went and did a video. And then I started contacting all these different authors and email, you know, seeing if they would record a Skype call with me, and I put it up on my channel. And then eventually I got onto radio, and then it kind of had a life of its own because I realized I wasn't the only one. There was a lot of other people that had these same questions and were interested in these subjects. And I grew to develop like a love for the knowledge. Like it wasn't just about proving something or fighting the system. It was like I fell in love with the process of knowledge and gaining insight and learning, and then it became a mission later where we're like, oh yeah, we really do have to save our country because we're going into the depths of totalitarianism. Right. This is really bad. Yeah. You know, so I guess that's kind of how it was for me. It evolved over time, and then it came Truth Warrior and everything, and I've just sort of made my own little statement on it. But I'm so happy to see that even though you and I are having this conversation and we're on Foxhole or whatever, and it seems like we're alone in this, we really, really aren't. And that's what I've learned, is I'm getting messages from people literally all over the world. And I'm seeing more podcasts come up, and people writing books and blogs, and even people writing music and putting events together and starting different kinds of businesses and trying to find a way to get out of the system. And that's a beautiful thing. It just means that maybe this is the time for this. You know, the time has come.
Oh, there's definitely an energy on this planet, an awakening energy that's like a tidal wave that's happening right now. You can feel it. You can feel like, I thought when I woke up, I was like the only one. You know what I mean? And I did. I was like, I'm like, what's happening to me? I freaked out. I didn't have anybody to talk. Look, there's a lot of us now, right? But when I woke up, there was nobody. Like there was like 2 YouTube channels I could go to and watch that were talking about what it's like to wake up. I remember, I listened to this day, and I remember going to Contact in the Desert right after I woke up, like right after. And you know why I went there? Because literally I was like, it's close to my house at the time. It was like close to me. And I was like, and this is where all the people that know about the UFOs are, right? Like this is how ignorant I was. Like I had no idea. And I literally went to Contact in the Desert. And I remember this girl came up to me and she goes, when did you wake up? And I go, what are you talking about? I'd never heard that statement before. Wake up? When did you wake? The way she said it to me, I was like, what do you mean? When did I wake up? She goes, you woke up. So that I understood after that conference, oh, this is like a thing that happens to a lot of people. Like they see a ship, right? Or
it's a thing.
Right. Or like something appears to them or whatever. And they wake up out of the matrix. Like I didn't know it was like a thing, and it was happening to a whole lot of people. Were showing up to these kind of events because something had happened to them that shocked their consciousness and made them start seeking the truth about their reality. So yeah, pretty crazy.
Contact in a Desert. That's cool. I've never been myself, but a lot of the guys I hang out with, you know, Richard Dolan, those guys, they go there all the time. Yeah. And it's cool to see. I had the honor of doing a tour across Canada. Actually, we called it the Disclosure Tour. I've been at that for a while, and we had, what do we have? We had Stanton Friedman, Richard Dolan, Paul Hellyer, former defense minister of Canada.
Have you interviewed him on your channel?
I've interviewed him. I put it up. It's on my Rockfin.
Oh, it
We should
is.
pitch our Rockfin. We're on
Right?
Rockfin now, guys. You
Yeah.
got to go there. You get both of us for the price of one. It's amazing. But I put like all my classic interviews. Actually, Paul Heller was one of my earlier interviews that I did.
Yeah.
And then I ended up doing some events with him where he was just like, I just want to tell people what I want to basically disclose everything I got. I got this new book, Money Mafia. So a buddy of mine and him, we organized a bunch of little events across Ontario. And then we brought him into our big national events. And we had like Nassim Harriman, we had Alex
Oh,
Gray,
wow.
we had just a whole score of people. Michael Tellinger,
He's great.
Stephen Bassett, just everybody. And I was, it's so funny because when you get into that world, everybody's like, oh, I like that guy, but I don't like that guy. Or I like this. And I'm like, who cares? Let's all just put everyone on the table and see what comes out, right?
Ufology's a trip, man. It's so...
Oh, it's like everything else, right?
It's like
but in the end, what's
school.
the truth? Yeah, what's the truth? Everybody has their opinion.
That's
it doesn't
all I care about, right? I care about what's the truth, man. That's
the point. That's the point. And I just love that question about, are we alone in the universe? Have we been visited by others? Has that visitation impacted the trajectory of human civilization? Are they still here? Are they coming and going? Is this all nonsense? Like, these questions are just, to me, it's a no-brainer. Okay. I'll just say it. It's a no-brainer that when you realize the size and scale of the universe that we live in, and we know more about our solar system than we do about the ocean floor. And you look up at the sky and you look at it and you go, well, of course we couldn't be the only ones. And then you just keep going down that track. And then what really kicked it off for me, I started doing a lot of work with Michael Tsarian.
Yeah.
And he wrote this book called Atlantis, Alien Visitation and Genetic Manipulation. I know it's a mouthful, but think about it. He goes into the ancient myths and scriptures and writings and the Book of Enoch and the apocryphal works and all these, and the Mahabharata and everything, and just finds scores of stuff that even Daniken didn't find, of just all these myths and legends, all the myths and legends from Ireland, the Celtic, Druidic myths and legends that nobody knew about. Talking literally, I think Jack Behringer said it well when he said over 30,000 ancient documents speak about advanced beings either visiting the earth or that were already on the earth before humanity came here. And I was just like, wow. And that's what made it past all the book burnings, the library burnings, the sequestering that took place by the Cistercians and the Templars and all that. And you go, wow. So there's something happening. Somebody on this planet knows a lot about it and they're not telling. And yet people are having these little brush ups with this phenomena.
Right.
And then everybody's scratching their heads and trying to differentiate. Is that a psychological thing? Is it a mass hysteria thing? Is it real? Is it angelic, spiritual? Is it physical nuts and bolts? Is it a bit of everything? And I guess the minute you dive into that subject, I think it's a healthy subject to at least speculate on. But if you get into it, man, there's just so much there. And I think it's actually very relevant to what's really going on behind the scenes.
Hey, I don't know about you. I have a feeling you probably went through the same thing as a kid, but I remember looking around and going, hold on here. People get abducted by creatures, they say. There's a lot of them that say this, right? They can't all be making it up. We got things in the sky that nobody knows what they are, that come and go and disappear and do stuff that clearly we can't do or allegedly can't do. This is back before I understood about our programs. Anyhow,
Right.
There's this, then you've got these pyramids, these giant buildings, these ancient buildings that nobody knows where they came from, who built them, or even how they built them, right? And it's interesting to me that on this planet, everybody just goes,
That's
like,
exactly
clearly
the reaction.
there is a conspiracy going on this planet, like a huge one, like a major one. You know what I mean? Like, how do you I think it's mind control. They put us all to sleep. Like, yeah, don't look at those. Just like the Phoenix Lights, like that happened and everybody went back to sleep. Like, it was just, it's like mind control. They tell them something, they broadcast some stuff at them and everybody goes, okay, forget it. We won't worry about that. This is fine. That's what, and I'm like, no, this is some sort of conspiracy, this whole planet, everything going on here. There's something about it. It's just it's not right, but I remember from myself going back to sleep my whole life and becoming a part of the Matrix and
Yeah.
and then it wasn't until I had a divine, whatever you want to call it, spiritual contact, whatever experience, that I was like, oh no, 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 I bought into the conspiracy. I got to get out of this. You know what I mean? I got to figure out what's going on this planet, just like I wondered when I was a kid. I knew something was wrong when I was a kid. You know, I don't know how they put me back to sleep, but they did. You know, 9/11 was a big red pill for me too, though. But I still was so involved in it that I just whoop, right back to sleep, you know.
Well, you
Now,
have ebbs and flows, right? Like I've had my time too, where you come and go with it, and that's natural. It's good probably to experience what the world and then get in it and then realize I'm feeling kind of empty inside. I really liked having a quest. I really like having these big questions to entertain and go and seek out. And then now we're in a world where this is not just a fun subject anymore, where it's just a subject of interest, right? It's now completely relevant to everything that's going on. And I think people are still just trying to grasp just how relevant it is. If you go back lately, I don't know about you, I've been thinking about all this stuff coming out. We had the recent announcement from Jim Caviezel. I won't talk about what he said in Tulsa, but and I've known this. I knew this stuff going back before 2020 or 2016 or whatever. I knew this going back to people like Ted Gunderson, who was the former FBI director of Los Angeles, who talked about a lot of that stuff. And we're just going to keep it, vague for now. But then I started thinking back to, I was like, I remember hearing about this. Where did I hear about it? And then it was like, boom, Phil Schneider. And I went, oh, I better go listen to some Phil Schneider. And I went back and listened to some of his talks, saw what happened to him, started talking to people that knew him. And I was like, we've already had whistleblowers. There's something. And if you put together what he said with what the ancient record says, with what many other pieces of information say, yes, you got to tape it all together. But when you do, you're going to come out of there and go, are we a farm? Are we like a, are we like a farm or something? Like,
why do they hide? Right.
Yeah, what's going on? Like, it's unbelievable when you think about it. And it doesn't mean it's all negative or all positive. It's like humans. There are good people, there are bad people, keeping it simple, right?
Yes.
We're dealing with life. Like the universe is teeming with life. One of the greatest quotes I found was Bob Dean. Remember Bob Dean? Rest in peace. He brought up the quote from, who was it again? Giordano Bruno, who was a Franciscan or Dominican monk from like the 1500s. And he was burnt at the stake by the Vatican for saying millions of suns exist, millions of planets surround those suns, and living beings inhabit those worlds. And he also threatened their entire, Constantine paradigm. And they burned him at the stake for saying that. And that was in the 1500s. And you kind of go, there's been many statements like that made by people who've been killed for saying it over time.
Right.
Now you can say it, but only when it's in the cartoonish Hollywood kind of fun kind of, when you get serious and real and factual, all of a sudden it's like, shut it down. And I just went, okay, so where there's smoke, there's probably some fire.
Right. All right. So David, what's in Antarctica?
Oh, damn. Antarctica. Apparently it's the edge of the flat earth. Didn't you know? I'm just kidding. There's something there. Okay. What was it? Superman blew the whistle on this. Wasn't that the whole story?
Hey, Kate, you can't change your avatar, man. I didn't even recognize you, friend. I hate when she does that on me. Go ahead.
Oh, and somebody's saying Alien Ant Farm. I remember that album or that song.
Oh, what was it? Was their band called Alien Ant Farm?
I think they were called, was that the name of the band? Oh my God. It's the 90s. Or
was that the song? Oh man. I'm getting old.
Help us out in the chat. We're totally stumbling on this.
Was
but
that
anyways,
the song or the band?
It could have been both. You know how they name themselves and then they do an album about their name? But anyways, so, okay, Antarctica.
Okay.
I'm not an expert on this, but I've talked to some interesting people, and it is very interesting. Was it Admiral Byrd and all that? I'm trying to go in a file folder here. It is interesting that we've got this big glacier here. We've got this big frozen wasteland that they're finding like forests and like it used to have life and it was covered. And then there's the descriptions about what happened. When you get into the dumbs, when you get into the deep underground, when you get into I find honestly the hollow earth thing a lot more interesting.
Oh yeah.
And you realize that even the Piri Reis maps and some of these other maps, they just, you can see that there has been earth changes over time. And there's always these stories about, beings and creatures coming out from inside the earth. We're always used to stuff coming from the heavens, but what if there was already something here, right? You go to, what is it, like in Turkey, Derinkuyu, these massive underground complexes, which just boggle the mind. They just found some more in Vietnam, and they just found some more, I think, outside the Mayan Riviera and other places.
If you ask any of the native people, it's like common knowledge to them. They're like, yeah, the ant people came and they helped us out and da-da-da-da. Like, it's not like a big deal. Like, they know extraterrestrials are real, or whatever you want to call the guys that live in the earth. They're not really ETs, are they? They're like, what are they? Technically.
Well, we don't know. Or there's all kinds of theories, but let's just say they're not, something's happening so, okay, let's frame it like this.
Okay.
There's us walking around on the alien ant farm.
Right.
And we think we're the apex predator. We think we're the pinnacle or whatever. And we're pretty good, but we think we're alone. We think we're the only ones because we're inhabiting the surface of the planet.
Yeah.
But we forget to think that there's a subterranean of the planet, and there's also whatever's happening on the outside of the planet.
This is a water planet. The whole thing is water, and we haven't even checked it out. We don't even know what's down there.
Exactly. And that's the thing. There's so many places we haven't even explored yet. Like, I think even in the Mayan, like the Mayan Riviera, that area, they've only explored like 3% of it because it's so thick, and to get teams in there to excavate stuff, but they keep tripping over new ancient monuments and stuff all the time. Who is another one that's really good on this? I had him on the show. It'll come to me. Anyways, Brian Forrester. Is that it?
He's the one that gets into the giant skulls. He's really,
and he does like Pumapunku and all that.
Yeah, which is fascinating too, but I won't get you off Antarctica. So
yeah, there's so many things.
I know.
But Antarctica, the theory is, some people theorize that that's like remnants of lost continents. Like there's going to be all kinds of remaining ruins from like Lemuria, Atlantis, that kind of stuff. Other people think, differently. There's all kinds of theories, but definitely that there's something there. And you hear the rumors about it being blocked off where you can only access certain points. And then there's just whatever's under that ice. And we know the government has all kinds of satellites and technology, and like, they know what's there. Somebody knows what's there. Mm-hmm. But if it changes the paradigm of us surface dwellers, then they're not going to let us know about it. And it could be that there's also continuing operations going on, that it's just too big for people to grasp the scale of what we might be talking about. So again, I don't know specifically about what could be there, but I will say I've seen enough smoke to know that there are definitely some mysteries there that are tying to the ancient past that may give us a lot of insight into how we even got here. And also might change everything we think we know about the science of the planet and the history of humanity. It's pretty exciting,
But for the sake of rampant speculation here, what's in Antarctica? I mean, just throw a couple.
Reptilian bases? I don't know.
See, that's what I was going to say. So
technology, lost technology,
technology. That's what I think. I think there's reptiles.
That's a theory.
There. Yep. Yeah. And do you think there's an entrance to the inner Earth? And do you think the inner Earth is actually another dimension, or do you think it's on the same plane as us?
Well, okay, when we get into dimension, this is the thing. First of all, I don't know, but I would say the human mind likes to jump out of reality when we're talking about things we don't understand, right? So we go, oh, I see these things that I can't explain. It must be some other dimension, spirit world that I don't understand. Maybe that's real. It could be that too. I actually think all things vibrate on all the frequencies at the same time, just like we do. Like, I have a physical body and I'm physically here, but I also have a spiritual dimension to myself. Mm-hmm. I would say that if we're talking about other people from other places that may be visiting this planet, wouldn't they also have the same thing where they would have a physical component and also an other dimensional component? So when there's the debate of, is it physical, is it dimensional, or is it spiritual? What if it's all of the above?
Right.
So that's that. And then when it comes to, there's a lot of interesting theories about the idea that humans didn't just evolve the way we did naturally. We were evolving on a certain track. And then you bring in people like Lloyd Pye and many others that would say then there was intervention that took place. that altered our genetics, which is why we're so weird and kind of out of place here. And we have the groundedness, but then we also have this space dimension to our thinking. And then, so there's that theory. And then if you think about the implications of that, you would think, well, what if other types of creatures also evolved intelligence or were gained intelligence, and we just don't know about it? So where would they live? So if what Phil Schneider is talking about is true, where he went in these underground bases and was like, yep, there's creatures down there. I shot a couple of them. They shot me back. It's real. There's underground trains. There's all this stuff. If that's real, then we might be dealing with a subterranean species that maybe thinks this is their planet, and that we are the invaders, or that we're the experiment gone wrong. And that might play into why they might want to wipe us out. This is just a theory. I'm just saying it's an interesting way to think of it. And then Antarctica would just be another piece of this puzzle, if this is true, of what could possibly be happening in terms of, we've had all these stories of people seeing a lot of UFO activity there and all that kind of stuff. Who knows? But at this point, there's nothing that would surprise me after the things I've seen.
Well, they clearly keep their presence hidden, whoever these people are that possibly live beneath our feet. They clearly are not making it known that they're there. So now you could go down the rabbit hole of why aren't they making it known? Well, either they're afraid of us and we're just a disaster and they just don't want to have any part, or the only reason that I can think of, feel free to step in, that you would do that is if you wanted to manipulate something, it's easier to manipulate if you're not seen. It's, you know what I mean? So I'm only thinking one of two things. Either we just, either we keep away from them because, they're a problem, or two, don't let them know because we can manipulate them in some way. We can gain something out of that if they don't know that we're here.
Yeah, that's a good way to think of it. Another way I think of it is, I was talking about this with a friend of mine. I live in British Columbia, and they say that if you visit British Columbia, you might even live your whole life here without seeing a cougar, because we have a lot of cougars here. Apparently on the island, we have the biggest concentration of mountain lions and cougars in the world. And they'll say, even though there's so many, you could live your whole life here without seeing one time, but guaranteed, even if you visit for a couple days, a cougar has seen you. Isn't that creepy as hell? And I go, interesting. If I apply that so that's a predator species that operates based off of its instincts, that it needs to be hidden, and it's going to stalk its prey, and it exists. You don't see them, but we kind of know they exist because people have seen them here and there. But they've definitely seen you. They just choose where is the right kind of prey, right? And if I carry that further to like Carlos Castaneda's books, where the whole character of Don Juan, who's talking about where there was this predator that came from the depths of the cosmos, that came to Earth and basically gave us their mind and raised us in what they call them, humaneros, like chicken coops, and tried to basically take hold of our evolutionary cycle and interrupt it so that they could feed off of us. And the way they would feed off of us was energetically and spiritually. And this is where you get the whole thing about demons and everything. It's just a mythological way of talking about what he was saying. And you think of it, okay, it's a predator. So if we get into the idea of it being a predator, it wouldn't be just out there going, hey guys, I'm the predator of the planet. Nice to meet you. It's going to be, well, what if they're outnumbered? What if they're either native to the planet, or what if they came here? Maybe they were, there's a theory based on the ancient myths that these beings that came here were fleeing from their own planet. Either there was a war going on or destruction going on, and they came to seek refuge here. And then great cataclysms took place, and they lost a lot of their technology. So they became imprisoned on the earth with us. So they are here. They're not from the planet. They were here a long time ago, and then it moved on from there. And so if they are outnumbered by us and don't want to just wipe us out, but they want to survive themselves. They want to rebuild their technology so they can get off planet, but they also want to use us for something. Something about humans as we are is is a currency for them. Maybe it's genetics. Maybe it's this,
Right.
the word that starts with A that nobody can say anymore. Maybe it's just energetic. Maybe it's the resources. I mean, Zachariah Sitchin thought it was the gold and the minerals. Maybe it's all the above. And so they don't want to just come right out with it. They would say, well, let's set up franchises. Let's milk these planets, and let's use the dominant species on these planets to work for us, like the Anunnaki, the whole legend that comes out of Sumeria. Let's use that. And then when you kind of think about that and you look at the way our modern systems are set up, with the taxing and the government and the lies and then you get into human trafficking, and you get into that deep stuff with Hollywood and the cults and the cult world and the secret societies and the stuff they believe. Even if you guys think I'm just talking smack out of my ass here, so that some of these people at the top believe this stuff. They believe it. So they would say, so this would maybe get to the idea as to why they actually view themselves as separate from humanity. Like, I don't know if you've heard Richard Dolan's theory about the breakaway civilization idea, where he's coming at it from the perspective that there was this black budget world that includes, the military industrial complex, the intelligence industrial complex, and then also the corporate private, Lockheed Martins of the world or whatever, that work within this black budget world where they got the technology to a much higher point than is publicly admitted. Like NASA's basically running like dinosaur technology to what they have. And a lot of the UFOs you see are actually back engineered spacecraft, but there are things that are just well beyond what we could do that we hear about as well. And so he coined it as, well, they've created, because they're probably, if they have this technology, they're probably off planet. So meaning they've broken away from the mainstream civilization, which is what these elite minded people do anyways. Makes sense. So that's the human side of it. But the question is, who are those people really working for? Are they working for themselves, or are they striking Eisenhower deals with different peoples, different groups that are making deals? And they're basically, it's like the ancient legends when they talk about how, oh, these are the favored ones by the gods. These are the gods' chosen people. These are the chosen ones. These are the favored ones because they're the servants, right? And then the rest are just serfs, Maybe there's I'm kind of going on a lot of points, but maybe there's something to that big picture that makes a little bit more sense of why there's so many predatory forces on our planet already that everybody just thinks is a bunch of bankers sitting around a round table trying to get rich. But then you go, but these guys make money. They invented it. So it can't be just about money for them. It might be about power. Okay, it's about power. But then you keep getting into the really psychotic, dark stuff. You go, well, it's about more than just power.
Right.
And then you go, well, what if they've been promised something? What if they're in league with something? What if they're serving something? And then you get into the whole satanic stuff and you go, is there a better explanation for that? So I'm kind of weaving in some threads here, but that to say is, I would say that there's a lot more happening on this planet and in our solar system and our galaxy and in our universe than the average person can even comprehend, because this predatory force has done such a really good job of hiding themselves, which is what predators do. You don't think they exist, but yet the signs are everywhere, in the same way that cougar, you didn't know it existed, or like the panda bear, nobody knew existed until like what, the 1800s or 1900s. And maybe one day we're going to find out, yep, we've never been alone, and we have to do something about it. And it's a mix of good and bad, but it's a bigger picture than I think many people can even handle.
Yeah.
Just
and clearly these human groups who have access to technology, information, that type of thing, they're continuing to deceive the population about the extraterrestrial, ultra-terrestrial, whatever you want to call it, presence on this planet. So you have to ask yourself, why are they doing that? Okay, so what do they stand to gain by keeping us deceived? And if you even look at like disclosure, the way that it's happening now, it's just laughable. It really is. It's almost funny. It is funny what they're doing right now. It's.
What do you think about that? Why are they dropping all these bombs on Fox News and the Pentagon and all that?
Because they want us to know that UFOs are real.
But they want to control the release, maybe.
Correct. Yeah. They want us to know. They know that we already know. or at least a certain percentage of the population that's rather growing exponentially, in my opinion. So at a point, it can't be stopped, right? But they want us to know because they want the sleepers to know. Let's put it that way. They know we already know, right?
Yeah.
But they want the sleepers, because if you tell the sleepers on the TV that this is real, now they believe it's real. But until you tell them on the TV that it's real, they don't believe it's real. Okay.
Funny how that works, eh?
So yeah, they're telling the sleepers because they want them to believe it's real. So you got to follow that through, right? Why do they want the sleepers to believe this is real? I can only come up with a few answers to that. What do you come up with?
Well, there's the notion that they want to do a controlled release of this because if the whole pandemic thing fails, or the whole CLIMET or whatever how you spell it thing fails, then they have a backup card of how they can use this as an opportunity to unify the world, right? There's that theory.
Yes.
Then there's also the idea that we might actually have some white hats. We might actually have some good people that have been working for a long time to try to get this out. Maybe they know they can't really keep the lid on this much longer. And they've said, all right, let's allow these guys to release this information. Let's let everybody slowly start to catch up, right? And we'll bring the disclosure out bit by bit because they see other advantages down the road to doing that. They wouldn't do it otherwise because they've kept it closed for what, 70 years? So yeah, that is the question that I want to know, is if they're just suddenly coming out, and like I see news reports here in Canada and other places where they're talking a lot more seriously about UFOs. And they don't play the X-Files music every time they report it now. Like they're trying to, they got these shows coming out, Ancient Aliens. They're trying to get it out there. I don't think it's all just a grand deception. I think there's truth to it, but I do get the feeling they're trying to manage this release, and they have their own agenda as to why they're doing that. Who knows?
Kilroy, let me see. Somebody over on Foxhole, looking for it. Kilroy 1962 says prepping us for a fake alien invasion. I think it's kind of complicated, but I think that's part of it. Yeah. I think that's part of it. And to control the narrative, because at a certain point they won't be able to anymore. And they know that time is coming. That's exactly why the Vatican even came out and said a few years ago, oh, well, we think maybe there's aliens and get ready because, it doesn't change anything though. I don't remember exactly what they said verbatim, but something to that effect. The church would not have come out like that and made a statement unless they had knowledge that this was going to be disclosed shortly. And so they're trying to control it and manipulate us and in a way for as long as they can until they literally can't control the narrative anymore. Like we discussed, other beings literally land and are walking around, and there's no more controlling the narrative anymore, right? And like you said, I think the breakaway civilizations have something to do with it, but I do think there's definitely a possibility that they want the sleepers to know, because you can't convince them you can't do like a false flag invasion if the sheep don't know that the UFOs are real, right? So you got to prep them ahead of time. You got to tell them, no, they're real, so that way when you fly some TR-3Bs over and you have the little gray robots get out, and maybe they'll get out, maybe they won't even need to do that much. But then like you said, like you just brought up, then you can unify everybody. All right, we're going to stop this bad alien invasion. We're going to say, what was that movie? What was the movie? Independence Day? Is that the movie?
Independence Day.
Yeah, just the same thing, except not the benevolent version of that narrative. And then you round her, it's okay, our independence and one world now, we got to fight the aliens. It's no longer about our sovereign, and then that's how you round everybody, or at least all the sleepers, and get them on board with whatever your new totalitarian, new world order.
It's a smart plan.
Yeah.
It's a smart plan. Let me just say this though, because I always think about this. What a lot of people like to do is say, yeah, it's all for Project Bluebeam, fake alien invasion, therefore disqualifying the entire question of are we alone. It's all just fake. Like, so there's extremes, right? There's like everything about it's fake. It's all been about that for this past how many decades. And they brush the entire subject off because that might actually be true. There might actually be this agenda to bring this out. But then it allows a lot of people to just dismiss it entirely. And I have my thoughts as to why people prefer to dismiss this as a reality. But that's a thing I always try to clear up, is I go, okay, that would be a really smart plan, because that I think would actually work. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
worked with masks. What do you think it's going to do when they tell you about aliens?
Or when they get out of ships and invade
Yeah.
your city, dude, and they're running around scaring you. Yeah.
All they got to do is, like, you know that show V? You ever see that one?
Oh,
There's
that's
like
all it would take.
Yeah, just they got to just bring a big craft in there, park it over New York City or some major city, and just sit there and just like, and then have a bunch of newsreels come out and start saying, "Oh, we're just getting this right now. We've got
Yes.
one of the Pentagon chiefs. He's on the phone with the Andromedans. They're here for," and then people will buy into it
Yep.
because they've all been watching. Every movie now is about aliens, and so
They've been prepped for it their whole life.
been prepped.
Yeah.
Exactly. But then you go, well, wait a minute. But what about the real alien? What, is there real component? Because if there's if the real is a real component to it, would those others do anything in the event that, you know, if we're being monitored, okay,
Yeah.
and some government comes out and says it, and then this event happens, will there be interference of that agenda by other Star Trek? You know, I don't know. Like,
Right. Will the good guys let that go down? I can't imagine
Exactly.
if there is a council up there, right? Allegedly,
Exactly.
of benevolent races that are far more evolved than us, right? I can't imagine they have a table they sit at, I would imagine. And if they were, somebody said, here's a briefing on Earth, they've staged, they're pretending there's aliens right now and they're trying to scare everybody. I would imagine, I don't know, but I would imagine that would be a reason to be like, okay, well, perhaps it's time we go and take a visit down there and correct the situation. I don't know, but maybe
right, because they're violating the Prime Directive.
That's
so
right.
we'll go in and that we have that mandate, so we'll shut it down. I mean, we're just speculating, but
Right.
I would say though it would be a smart tactic, and I think it was what was it? It was Werner von Braun allegedly that had said we were going to go with terrorism,
Right.
asteroids, all these other things, and then the last card is the alien
aliens
card.
when that stopped working, all the rest. Yeah.
Right. And then I know even like Stephen Greer, you know, whatever people think about him, he's been coming out a lot talking about this as being a possibility, because his thing is all the real aliens are just totally good, which I don't agree with
Right.
him
Which
on.
is BS.
I think that's naive. But
Right.
but I wouldn't disqualify the fact that there are, you know, benevolent beings out there that are just explorers, they're scientists, just like we would be if we got off planet. It makes sense.
I would even
and-
venture to say most of them are benevolent. I think
I
the
could go
fact
with
that
that,
we're
yeah.
still here tells you that alone.
There you go. There you go. And a lot of stories of these beings were negative, but a lot of them were positive. If you go with, what was her name? Dr. Carla something, somebody can help me. Carla with a K. She was like she was a academic. She came out and she wrote a book about the abduction phenomenon. And she would break it down. Dr. Carla Turner, that's who it is.
Okay.
She would break it down like scientifically in her, but she was of the opinion that like the vast majority of the interactions were negative because of the fact that the government had made deals with these specific groups. And so what's interacting with us was given permission by the governments of the world to do that. Whereas, so she looked at it as like, we're locked in with these bad guys because they're the ones that did the deals and gave the permission to violate the Prime Directive. Whereas the other beings, if they are there, they wouldn't have that mandate because they wouldn't have any interest here, right? So, and then you think about the idea that so many of these other races out there or peoples out there might be so far advanced that would be like, you know, do you really have to go explain yourself to a German Shepherd or an ant?
Right.
Or like
You don't.
you just, you know, you fly by, they have no idea that we even exist in the way that they think they do. And who it goes on. So it's a mixed bag. And this is where it's an exciting subject because we've got these things, we have the evidence of something happening. There's actually a lot of evidence of this phenomena. It's just the answers to all these questions this is where it's speculationville. And I think that's healthy. And I'm sick and tired of the media and all that trying to make it look, oh, they're just wild theoretical. And I'm like, well, this is the biggest subject known to the human race. You have to speculate because we don't know. And we're probably about to find out. It seems like that. It seems like when the media puts money and time into putting these stories out, that I don't trust that. That's the people telling us that this is what's going to happen. If it's the media, that's when I go, I'm on the side of it being a fake thing that they're going to do.
Right.
But I just always add the caveat that that doesn't mean the whole phenomena is fake. It just means they're trying to manage it and keep it under control.
Oh, I agree 100%. And, if we're all, conspiracy theorists, okay, then let us see what's in Antarctica, right? There's no harm in letting us check it out, right? I mean, and live stream it if there's nothing nefarious going on, and there's no negative interdimensional beings, or ultra terrestrial, whatever you want to call them. None of the bad guys that aren't us are down there. Well, then there should be no problem showing us what's there, right? And
what's
so,
under the Vatican? I want to know what's there. Why can't they show us?
That's my point. If they didn't lie to us, then we wouldn't have to speculate, but they do. So we need to figure out what's going on here, because if there are deals between these bad guys that they're breaking the Prime Directive and our Earth governments, we need to know about that, because they got to go. You know what I mean? Because we're going to change this planet now. We're not going to live like this anymore. So anybody that's been facilitating that, or having anything to do with that, especially those that have been hiding and manipulating us from underground, a distance, whatever you want to call it, they got to go now. So
they got to go.
They got to go, because I really like Earth, honestly. I mean,
I do too.
Earth is beautiful, and there's so much we
Just
have
some of
yet
the
to
people,
discover.
I'm like,
Well, yeah, but I think, like you said, with the frequency thing, though, David, I
Yes.
think we're gonna wind up in different places. Now, I don't understand how that looks. But I do feel that those that are in this chat right now that resonate with love and with truth and with knowledge and with service to others, I do feel that those people are going to get to a place vibrationally where we just won't be in the same place as the people who have chosen the other path. And I don't know how that looks, but we'll find out, right? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, that's good, because it's almost like we're already seeing it, aren't we? With the whole lockdown scenario, where it seems like half of the population of the planet bought it hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
And now we're at a point where half is questioning and challenging it and fighting for freedom over fear. And I really feel like it's when you look at this, maybe it's a different number, but I look at it like it's either like 60-40, maybe 70-30, but maybe 50-50. Let's just start with 50-50. 50% of the people believe the media. 50% of the people are watching shows like this and don't believe the media. And that already has created two worlds, because you could literally be standing at the stop sign beside somebody that looks at this whole situation from a completely different worldview as you, and you're standing in two different existence, like spaces of existence together. And that's only about wearing masks and all this craziness and locking down. That's only about that. When we start getting to the bigger questions, what's that division going to look like? And will that help wake people up, or will that drive a lot of people more into cognitive dissonance, shut down? I can't take it. I don't want to know the truth. It's probably going to be a bit of both, but it really will feel, it already does. It feels like we're splitting. Yes. Humanity is splitting in that way. And it's the separating of the wheat and the chaff. It's what we've heard about for so long, of who are going to be the gardeners and the caretakers and the warriors of this planet, and who are just not ready to evolve. They're not wanting to as a soul. We can't force that. So in a way, there's going to be two separate realities for a while until it reaches equilibrium again.
Absolutely. I don't at that point, I don't think we can exist on the same plane. And if you want to take it back to like even the ET subject and other civilizations, right? So let's say a ship does land and some beings get out. Maybe they look like us. Maybe they don't. It doesn't really matter. Once we get to a point where we can love each other unconditionally, and not judge each other for various things, then I think we're getting there, right? But, say this person gets out, however they may look, I'm inclined at this point, even if it's startling to me to see the way they look, because it's different for me, I'm inclined to do whatever it is, shake their hand, hug them, whatever, and say, hello, brother. I'd love to learn about who you are and where your world, and that's going to be how I'm going to want to approach it, even if it takes me a minute to adjust to maybe the way that they look, because I've never seen anything like that before. And I think most people in these chats would agree, right? But you have an element of the population, right? And it's the same thing with the mask thing and everything else, that are going to see that being get out of something they don't understand, and a being that doesn't look like them, and they're going to run. They're going to run.
Yeah.
They're going to hide. They're going to get angry. They're maybe even go get a gun or a weapon. And they're going to want to shoot because they don't understand it. It's different from them. So it must be bad. It's just a different level of consciousness, right? So at one point, how can people that want to shake the cosmic cousin's hand be existing on the same plane as those that want to shoot at it? It's not going to work. We have to be in separate. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a tough one. And maybe that question is why we haven't ever really had any, real flybys or no, I guess flybys. Yeah. But we haven't had any official, disclosure of it, is because like some people have said, there's a faction within the military that feels like humanity's just not ready for this. Mm-hmm. And the Orson Welles experiment and all that just showed that, humanity just not ready. And there's another faction that says, no, humanity deserves to know the truth. And maybe no matter what we do, or no matter how much time passes, there's always going to be those people. And so in the end, all one could do is try to say, well, I know what I would do. I know how I feel. As long as whatever's here is peaceful, I'm cool with it.
Right.
But if we're talking about something that's here to literally colonize and take over this planet for their own resources, that puts us in a different place. And so just the fact that could be a potential, the government absolutely can blow that up and go, well, yeah, they are here to take over the planet. So now it's World War III against the aliens. And it's just, who knows? It could all just be a big Hollywood production in the end. But I think asking this question is healthy, whatever people believe about it or not. If people think it's crazy, fine. I think it's also just a healthy exercise to think about these questions and ask yourself, because you learn about yourself by thinking like this. And it's very interesting that we've been put in a box of thought that says, well, scientifically, it's impossible for them to come here, and we've never really seen any evidence, so it doesn't exist. Like, no, the process of acquiring knowledge is you have to have an open mind, and you have to keep learning about these things and thinking about them. And you're not, in the end, you realize I'm not really thinking about that subject. I'm learning about me. I'm learning about what I would do and who I am. And I think that's a healthy process. And that's why it's good for us to do it. And then, if they're starting to disclose stuff on the news right now, and I think I can't remember the date. Maybe maybe it's June or July, where the Pentagon had been ordered by Trump or by an executive order to release a whole bunch of information about it. Do you know more about that maybe, Alara?
Yeah, the deadline is June 25th, but allegedly DNI Ratcliffe said that it was gonna be released, or someone I think at Fox News said that they were gonna have the report out before June 1st to the media, right? But then some stories came out recently that the Biden administration is stalling this out, so we may not even get our report on the 1st or the 25th. It may get stalled out. I mean, they've slowly been declassifying stuff, but still, and even at this rate, it seems like, we went through this on Space Force News not too long ago. I wish I could remember what episode it was. Foil, if you remember, please put what episode it was in there. But we went through and broke down the actual, everything that they have to disclose that's in the agreement, in the bill. I have a terrible memory. I have really bad memory problems, but there's a list of about 13 things that I think one of them was that they want a point of contact to be able to go to for information about this topic. So they want some disclosure, but it's not what we're thinking. It's not going to be what we're hoping. They're not going to come out. And then we get these contradicting statements too. Like, I've heard, what's his name? Elizondo. I've heard him say, okay, well, be outright asked. I wish I had the clip, and say, okay, well, I mean, there's what did he say exactly? He said that something to the effect of, these are off-world crafts. He said we have their stuff. You know what I mean? We actually physically have the parts from these crashes. Like we have. So then he'll go and say that, and then he'll go on another broadcast and go, well, we don't know what they are. What do you mean you don't know what they are? Are they us or are they not us? If they're not us, then just say what they are. That would make them alien.
Maybe he said it, and then Yeah, maybe he said it and then someone had pulled him in a room and had a chat with him.
Well,
That's what I wonder,
that
right?
might
Like,
be it.
or are they just messing with us? Could be just messing with us.
I think I don't know. You know what I mean? But I think clearly the disclosure agenda, you can, if you, I mean, you've been monitoring it your whole life or for a long time. You can see what they're doing right now. They denied there was UFOs. They told us all we were crazy. They made jokes. They even did that to the Phoenix Lights people. It was a whole city that saw it. And this has happened in other, but it was ha ha ha. And then all of a sudden one day just, you have to wonder because Trump put that in the the stimulus bill from last year, right?
It's funny that it was in the stimulus bill. It was just kind of put in there.
Yeah, like as a side note. Look, and by the way, y'all, you need to start disclosing what you know about the, but like you said, if there's these corporations in control and these off-world groups, how much disclosure are we actually going to get? You know what I mean? How much of this is funded with black budget? How much, even if there is a bill and even if like what's happening right now, how much do they really have to say? And then how much of that is going to be given to us unredacted,
Yeah,
Especially
that's
if
a
there's
good
an
point.
agenda.
Well, and then you go with like the idea. I've asked a lot of UFO researchers this question because they're always going for disclosure, and they imagine, okay, disclosure for them is the president of the United States coming out on CNN and saying it like that's
There's aliens.
disclosure for them. There's aliens.
Yep.
Okay, we're aliens
That's
now.
it. You got us. There's aliens.
Yeah. That's it. We were hiding it from you for 70 years. And sorry about that. It's our bad.
We'll give you an extra stimulus check. Don't worry about it.
Here's a Krispy Kreme donut and the Obama phone.
They're giving weed now. Did you hear that? For
I
people
heard
that go and
weed and donuts.
You get weed and donuts. Yeah, I had some rich jokes going the other night about what else you could get in the future besides weed and donuts.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah,
man,
exactly.
dude.
How cheaply we give away our freedoms, eh?
What is going on here?
But basically the question I always had for these guys was, what if this whole disclosure thing is not controlled by humans on Earth? What if it's directed by them and they call the shots on the whole thing? And there might be good people that want to disclose what they know, and it's not just their commanding officer over them that's telling them no. Maybe they're getting a directive from the Galactic Federation or whatever the hell it is, that nope, not ready yet. No, it's not going to happen like that.
Well,
and how intertwined are these beings with what's happening with this whole disclosure thing? That's my question.
Did you hear about I don't know how to say his name, Hayam Eshed, the Israeli space head that came out?
Oh yeah.
Right? So I feel like that was benevolent, what happened there. I feel like that disclosure and what he said was benevolent. I don't think it had anything to do with the other the partial agenda that's going on. I think that was something that happened, that because if you look at the way the media handled it, that came out and like not like a kind of a random article, and then the mainstream kind of like they couldn't ignore it because it was kind of nutty what he said, like compared to what we're told, and the guys respected, and they kind of were like, okay, well, this is what the guy said. Thanks for the tacos, guys. He said, well, he goes,
What's with the tacos?
They were like, well, I don't know. It's like a thing Method started and it's just caught on. And now it's like I don't know. It's just, it's out of hand. You know how that kind of, so,
yes.
So the guys, he said he said, made some statements that if you're, asleep are going to be a little bit shocking. So the mainstream kind of said, well, this is what the guy said. Well, we really don't know what to think. All right. And that's all, folks. Have a nice evening. And then it was just gone. So if you look at everything surrounding it, it almost seemed like it was something unexpected that came out of nowhere that they kind of just dealt with, unlike the partial disclosure narrative that's going on. It's on everything. And it said, look at this UFO we caught on and tic-tac. And it's being sold. It's being pitched.
That you can feel the difference.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. What are your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't be surprised because I believe there are people that are within government, military, private corporations, whatever, who know stuff that want to say what they know. There's even been the deathbed confessions for many years. There's been So much of this coming out. It's funny how the minute you get into this going, oh, let's go see what these UFO nut balls think. And then you dive into it, you're like, oh, there's like legit information from really high ranking people here, like astronauts and presidents and all kinds of stuff. And I just wonder so this idea of like white hats or people working behind the scenes to help, there's probably a battle going on there too, where they're trying to go, all right, go say it now, and then the guy says it, and then of course the other guys are like, what, he's on the air, he's saying it right now, shut it down, and then let's go back to the other narrative. And so there's probably a battle happening behind the scenes, and that's just amongst us humans. What the hell else is going on, you know?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And I really kind of, anybody out there that's listening to this conversation or somehow ends up seeing this interview and you have information, you know, this disclosure is going to come from us, you know, clearly. We're not going to get it from them. So if you have information, and I understand that people have their families to worry about and they have NDAs and they have, like, I fully understand that. But, you know, there's always a way that you can get that information assembled somewhere and have it released upon your death or situations like that to at least help get it out to humanity, you know, so that we can start to make a difference at getting this changed.
Or send it to us send it to me anonymously, send it to Laura anonymously.
We'll get it
and
out.
I know I'll read it out and I'll go, guys, I got an anonymous tip. Nobody's going to believe me, but it doesn't really matter because if it's true and it's said, then the truth will stand in the end.
That's right.
So there's always the anonymous thing, or we could do the whole thing where you come on and we do the like black shadow with
either way. I just
like, and you just mask the voice.
We just want to know the truth. Either way, I got a Proton Mail. Do you have a Proton Mail account?
I got Proton. I'm with Switzerland.
Well,
yep.
I got Proton Mail too. So shoot us a Proton Mail. We could do the Darth Vader thing, or however you want to do it. But let's
send me a photon on the Proton.
That's right.
And I'll do it.
Yeah. A photon on the Proton. Nice. Well, we're at 1:47 right now, and I usually don't like to go. Well, I mean, you got 15 more minutes, or do you want to go ahead and close now? I know you were on a podcast earlier, so I don't want to, you know.
I'm one of those people that can talk for a long time, so we can do another 15. This has been a lot of fun. It's been a while since I've talked about this subject. I actually have planned to do some like proper presentations on some of these things. So I'll be doing a lot more. I just released it's a premium, but it's a playlist of all of my favorite UFO interviews that I've done. And I put it on my Rockfin. So if people go and check out my Rockfin, I've got a whole playlist on I think some of the best interviews I've done with Jim Mars, Jordan Maxwell, Richard Dolan. You have some great
interviews.
Carmen Bolter. Who else? John Lear. Come on. Classic. Just old school. Just the classic ones. And it just to have that collection it's one of my favorite collections because it's just, I don't know what it is. I just love that subject. I'm super interested in it. And I don't cover it all the time on my show. I'm not like a UFO show, but I've done so much with it. And I think I'm going to cover more, especially as we go in to whatever the hell's going to happen. I think they're going to need more journalists covering it to try to give some clarity to people, because I think this question of, is it going to be a real thing or is it going to be a stage thing, is going to be really important for people like us, Alara, and other people to be able to go in and help people understand as we learn about it. Because I think things are about to get pretty nuts over the next couple months and years for sure.
Oh, I fully agree with you. And since you brought up the Rockfin thing, because I know a lot of people are completely unaware of Rock. So the reason Rockfin is super cool, you guys, is it's like Patreon. You can support your favorite truther. You know, I think it's $10 a month. You can go and pay $10 a month to support them over there. But you don't just get their content and their premium content like you would on Patreon. You get everybody else's content that's on that platform. And there's some great people over there, and there's more and more people going over there by the day. Like, it's super awesome over there. So it's just a super good deal. It's like a win-win situation. So DWTruthWarrior is over there on Rockfin. He just recently went over there. I'm over there now as of today. This is my first show over there. And also Loyal to the Foil, my co-host on Space Force News. She's over there now too. So
John Paul Rice is over there now.
John
Anybody
Paul
know John Paul
Rice.
Rice? He's
Yep.
there.
Who
Yeah.
else is there?
Jason Burmis is there. Ben Askren's there.
Sam Tripoli's there. Yep.
Ben Askren's over there. They got some sports guys, jiu-jitsu. I come from the martial art world, so there's like Jordan Burroughs. There's lots of jiu-jitsu guys, MMA fighters, workout guys. Like they're trying to create a variety of content, but they have an open mind section where it's all freaky, weird people like us who love the truth.
Are you in open minds too?
I'm on open mind.
Oh, yeah,
I'm on open minds and MMA because I have a martial art section as well for martial art videos. And then, so I'm on kind of both of those.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, okay. So I got to ask you this. So maybe we'll cover this real quick before we end the show. So have you had any, because I see that you're into the paranormal. Like you're clearly into ancient history, the paranormal, all this kind of stuff. So usually that gets sparked by something. Have you had any UFO experiences or high strangeness, whether it be the paranormal or anything that's, not the norm, that kind of spurred that curiosity along?
That's a good question. I've had a few things happen to me. Growing up, when I was in my teens, I had, it actually started around a Ouija board experience, which was really weird. A bunch of us getting together. I must have been like 16 and we're sitting around the Ouija board and, I was just like, I don't want to do that shit. It's kind of, I've heard bad things. And they're like, no, come on, man. And everybody's drinking, having fun. And then I remember sitting there going, okay, nothing's going to happen, right? We're sitting around. And then I said, well, you know what? I'm not going to put my hands on the board. I'm just going to kind of sit and watch you guys. And they're like, okay, fine. And there was maybe like 5 of them around the board. And I just remember them all kind of going from this laughy, ha, ha, ha. And then I remember looking at my friend's cat, who was one of those cats that just never moves. They just sit there all the time. And so the cat's there, the 5 of them are there. I'm watching this thing happen. Total, like nothing's going to go on. All of a sudden, the marker starts moving like crazy, all by itself, like no joke. And everybody's face changed, like everybody's demeanor changed. And the cat literally jumps into the air and does one of those like, and it was just, everybody stopped and looked at each other like, what in the hell just happened? And then, of course, curiosity, they keep going into it and they start playing more with it. And it's just going like nuts. And they start making notes. This thing has a name. It's talking to them like, oh my God, let's get the hell. This was actually at my ex-girlfriend's apartment. And she was one of those like hardcore, I believe in science people. And she, for like 2 weeks after that one night, she starts having crazy dreams. She starts seeing things in the mirror behind her. She starts having things go missing from her house, doors open. It got to the point where she and her roommate moved out of that apartment because they were just like, something happened. And they took that actual board, which was like a handmade board, and they burnt it. Because they told me, I wasn't there for this one, but they told me they tried to throw it out on the trash on the curb. Mm-hmm. And the next day they came in their apartment and it was back on the table. That's just what they told me. Maybe they were blowing things out of proportion, but I was there when I watched that needle move like nuts and everybody flipped out. Nobody was touching it. There was no magnet. There was nothing. And so I went, okay. And I'd always heard stories about that. And I've had a lot of friends that had those experiences. I've had a sensitivity to, the energy in different places. Like when I would go into different places, you feel the spine, you feel the goosebumps, you just feel stuff like that. Never had any like, other than maybe memories as a kid where you don't know if I'm remembering a dream or something real, where you see something walk into the room, or I felt like I've had a few experiences in my life where I felt a warm hand on my back. And I don't know if that's just a delayed memory from when I was a kid, or it just feels like a warm hand gets placed on my back and I'm fully conscious of it. And it feels like a hand. I turn around, nothing's there. So that's the kind of paranormal stuff. And maybe a few other cases, I've seen some interesting things. And then when it comes to the UFO thing, for me, the UFO thing was just a question that made sense to me at a young age. I just went, yeah, like clearly there's got to be something else. And these people can't all be making this stuff up. And then one night, it would probably be in about 2013, I want to say. I was living in Brampton, Toronto area. And I went to a friend of mine's house and he had a place up northern Ontario. And it was like a cottage. And I remember having that feeling when we went to go see his place and hang out there, that in Toronto, there's so much light pollution from the city that you don't get to see all the stars. You see like 4 stars, like I see some stars, yay. Yeah. But then when I would go out there, it was like unbelievable amount of stars because it's out in the country. And so we're in there and there was a bunch of people in there playing games and drinking and having fun. And I just went outside by myself. I'll do this. I just wanted to go outside where it was quiet, crickets, the water, stars overhead. And I just started looking at the stars and there was just like big globs of light. It was so cool. And I look at this one star and I kept looking at it and it was fixed. It was just sitting there. It just looked like another star. And I'm looking at it. I didn't know why I was attracted to looking at this one star that was just hanging there. And then all of a sudden the star starts to move from a fixed location. And it had been fixed for like 10 minutes. I remember going, that's a pretty bright star. And I look around and kept coming by. That's a bright star. Look around, come back. And then the thing starts moving and it proceeds to do a pattern of a square like that in the sky. And then it stops and it blinks out. And I went,
they love to do that.
Planes don't go in squares. I started going through the list on my mind. Satellites, helicopters. It's too high. It was way too high up. Like it was a star. And then it did it 3 more times. Yeah. Right in, like as I'm sitting there looking at it, I hadn't drank anything. I hadn't done any drugs or anything like that. My buddy comes out who doesn't look into any of this stuff. And I'm like, dude, look at this star. It's just moving around. He's like, what? It's a satellite. And as he started saying it's a satellite, he stopped mid-sentence because the thing made a right angle turn, did the pattern, blinked off, appeared in a different spot, did it again, blinked off, gone. And I looked at him and I went, do the list with me, man. Airplanes, helicopters, satellites, space, what is it? And I mean, maybe it was a TR-3B, maybe it was but it was not conventional aircraft. And I remember us walking in and I tried to tell people, I'm like, guys, we just saw this thing. And I just had that moment where I realized so many people who've seen these things, that when you go to a room of people that haven't seen it, and you try to tell them, you sound like the crazy guy in the room.
Oh yeah.
And I just went, wow. And then my wife had an experience where she walked outside our backyard and she had never seen anything before in her life. And she saw a green light that was just bright green, like appear, do a crazy thing, blink off, and then zoom off. It was just something really quick. And she still talks about it. And so nothing super crazy, not like the thing landed on my lawn, but enough for me to know something was there. And then I guess the rest of it was I would interview people that had these experiences. And I put one of these videos on that playlist where some friends of mine in Ottawa, we were at a party and sitting around the fire at the end of the night kind of thing. And I was just off the tail end of this UFO conference and we started talking about aliens and stuff. And this is a person I've known for a while. And they start saying, Dave, we've never told you our story. And they tell me about a multiple witness event that took place in their neighborhood where this craft came up as a singular craft and then broke off into 3 different pieces.
Oh,
cool. The whole neighborhood saw it. Yeah. So they were like, it was crazy. And then it came back together and went up and down and it was insane. And you can see that story. And I would just do that. I would interview people. I didn't always publish it. And I got so many stories from people that I knew that I deemed were credible. They would never make this up. And it was just so well detailed that I kept collecting these stories. And I just went, there's just too much here for me to not know. There's something going on, whether it's government craft playing around with us or something else, or a combination of the both. Either way, there's something flying around in our airspace that is not known to the masses of people as being conventional aircraft. So that's what I got so far.
Very good way of putting it. It's awesome to hear your story. I knew you had to have some experiences, man. You don't get ultra woke without it. You know what I'm saying? It usually comes at some point, you know? So
those are the public stories.
Yeah. Well, I get it, right? I've got my public stories and my not so public ones. Yeah. But some of them are just so bizarre that I don't know if
leave it. Yeah.
Everyone's ready for that yet. So
yeah.
All right. So what do you got coming up? What do you got going on? Where can everybody find you?
Well, thanks to you, Alara, I now have a link tree. I set this up literally when you suggested it. So props to you. But if you go to my website, DWTruthWarrior.com, You can get all the download of everything I'm working on, my latest shows. You can find out where I'm at. I'm really pushing my Telegram channel right now because I just like that. I'm on there all the time. I've even been playing around with the voice chat feature in our group and having some cool chats with people all over the world. And so get in on that. I've been doing a new project with my channel. We're calling it Patriot Switch. It's a combination of a sponsor that's turned into like a revolution of basically we found a company that they make a lot of really good products, and they have this online community store, and they basically sell a lot of the same stuff you'd find at like Walmart or Shoppers Drug Mart or whatever, but for better quality, no toxic chemicals, and the same price. And so we've been going, okay, when we've just experienced the greatest transfer of wealth in human history from the middle class to the billionaire trillionaires of the world, like Jeff Bezos and all these people that own all these companies, we need to find a solution where we can starve the beast and get our support away from these companies and find alternatives. So this was me just finding an alternative. It's kind of turned into a movement and a project that we call Patriot Switch. You can check that out at patriotswitch.com/truthwarrior. It's just the beginning, because now you got Mike Lindell launching his new store. You've got people trying to find new cell phone alternatives, people trying to find, well, to me, Rockfin is like a Netflix alternative. Just thinking outside the box of, we're paying to be enslaved. We're paying people to continue to take our money. There's 11 corporations that own all the shelf space of all the products you get in the stores, just like the media. And then they take 60% of the money you spend on one product, and they give that money into advertising, into the media machine to lie to you, brainwash you. And the whole system, when you see it, you go, well, aside from the black budget stuff and everything, we've been funding our own enslavement by supporting all these things.
Yes.
And now there's a revolution of patriots and people that are making their own products. There's even people that are calling me like, I'm making my own clothes now. Amen. And I just like this movement. And so I've been really talking a lot about this and trying to find alternatives for people, because this is how we can starve the beast and try to kind of reclaim our sovereignty. So that's kind of one of the projects that I've been working on. Other than that, I just did a really kick-ass interview with Michael Tsarian on my show today. Monday's show was with Mark Friesen, who's a big-time patriot. They call him Grizzly Patriot here in Canada, who's been trying to lead a resistance against all the tyranny going on in my country. And I've got other guests coming on real soon to break some more stuff down about that whole thing with the, and everything else. And then you've just inspired me to jump back into the UFO subject again. So I'm probably going to call up some of my buddies and get some of that content on my show. So that's what I got in the works so far. Yay. Oh, one more thing. Can I do one more thing?
Yes.
Cult of the Medics. This is a series that I'm going to be working on. If you go on my Rockfin channel, there is a series called Cults of Death and Power. And each episode is like 3 or 4 hours long. It's pretty long, but it's basically an analysis of cults from the ancient world to the modern world to what's going on now. And I had this idea of doing something on the history of modern medicine, the pharmaceutical industry, going all the way back to like the Knights Hospitalers, and the history of the dark side of the medical industry and why we may be in the position that we're in and who's doing it. So that's my new series. It's going to be a 12-part series exclusive to Rockfin, and it's going to be Cult of the Medics, and I can't wait to release it. So that's the last project I'll let you know about.
Oh, cool. I'm going to be going down the thought process soon about what I'm going to do over there that's going to be in addition to everything. So it's going to be interesting to see what I come up with. Yours sounds rather exciting, David. David does awesome work, you guys. I'm sure you know that now because you saw him on here tonight. But he's super amazing, and definitely follow him and check out his work. He is definitely a blessing to this movement. Let's see. I have a couple of announcements before we close the show. So Conspiracy Couch is going on tonight. I don't have the link up yet. I will get it up after the show tonight. I just didn't want to have any problems when I went on Rockin' the first time with anything going wonky. So the Conspiracy Couch link will be up. So tomorrow night's going to be a little bit different, guys. We're going to be having game night. So we're going to be playing conspiracy theory trivia. And we're going to do it it's still going to be call-ins like that, but it's going to be game night. And then we're going to do Foxhole versus DLive versus YouTube. We're all going to play against each other, right? So I'm not sure quite how many. I'll get it done though. I'll have a mod monitoring. We'll get it done. So yeah, it's going to be fun. It'll be conspiracy theory trivia game night. on Conspiracy Couch tomorrow night. That will be 7:30 Pacific, 10:30 Eastern, right here on this channel. After that,
checking my calendar right now.
After that, Space Force News on Sunday, of course, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And then next Wednesday, I will be having a gal on who has created a New Earth school. And I think it's really vital and important, guys, that we are creating these New Earth schools. And so I definitely want to give her a voice and want to hear about what she's doing. And I hope you guys will join me because I hope this catches and spreads. We really need to change the way we're educating our children. We can't stand for this any longer. The indoctrination, the masks, all of it, it's got to go. So definitely come and check out that show. I think it's important that these New Earth schools be taken seriously. So yeah, that'll be next Wednesday, 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern. Let me empty the chest over on D Live because I've seen what happens if you don't. And
that's another thing I'm still trying to figure out.
How to empty the chest on D Live? Oh, I could show you. Yeah. It's really easy. It's really easy.
You have to empty the chest? I haven't emptied any chests.
The chest is emptying right now. Oh, I'm surprised they haven't yelled at you.
Oh, you have to do it?
Oh, they'll come
they probably
you.
have it.
Oh, they're taking it easy on you, man.
Oh,
if I don't empty the chest, they're on me like, Laura, you didn't empty the chest. I get like
I better get on it.
Oh, and then me too. Just like David, my main thing right now is Telegram. That's where I'm at. It's replaced my Twitter, which was taken. So definitely go and follow me on Telegram. The link is in the YouTube description, although the mods have it, and they're usually good about posting it on the other platforms. So the rewards have been distributed. So yeah, you can support this channel by checking out the t-shirt shop and grabbing you a Puffin shirt or Space Force News shirt or something, or supporting BeardVet Coffee. He's got great beard supplies and coffee and whatnot. And yes, guys, we are going to make a new commercial with the beards. It's coming. Don't worry. And definitely like, share, and subscribe. I really appreciate all of you and love you so much. And you're all beautiful people that are all fighting for the light. And yes, Keystone's bringing it up. She's going to have James Gilliland tomorrow on her channel at 7 p.m. So definitely check that out. What else do I know? A Journey to Truth's going to have Abby Lynn on tomorrow night. I always forget what time their show is, but I'll post it in my Telegram. And if Tyler happens to be in the chat, you can post the time, my friend. But I always forget because it's Central. I can never remember Central time. Aren't you on the same time zone as me, David?
I'm Pacific, so yeah. So Central would be probably 2 hours ahead of us, I think. Yeah, 2 hours ahead.
When people give me the Central time zone, then my mind can't translate it into Pacific or Eastern. So I lose track of when it is, in the whole scheme of time. So anyway, yeah, awesome stuff coming up. Like I said, love you guys. Awesome hanging out with you, as always. And on that note, I think we could say goodnight to everybody. David, what do you think?
Sounds good to me. I'm hungry. I'm going to go eat some food. And thank you so much, Alara, for bringing me. Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to tell you, thank you so much for coming on, David. It's been an absolute treat having you on. Definitely come back anytime. And thanks for the tacos, guys. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the tacos. And Alara, thank you. It was fun to talk to you. You do an awesome job. I'm now following you on Telegram. And shout out to everybody tuning in. Thanks for listening to the show tonight, hearing us out. I hope we gave you something to think about. And I think we're going to have to do this again sometime. Maybe I'll have to return the favor and get you over on my foxhole, Alara, in the near future.
Sounds awesome. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. We will see you tomorrow night for the Conspiracy Couch.